to ThinkTech Hawaii. I am your host for this afternoon, Kathleen Lee, and this is Business in Hawaii. For today, we have on our show Ron Bronstein. I hope I said that correctly. Ron Bronstein is the co-owner of Chambers Escape. Ron, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit, or a lot, up to you. Tell us about yourself. A bit of your background before we launch into Chambers, your business.
Sure. So my background is a little unconventional as far as escape room owners go. Before I came to Hawaii, I was living in Israel for 10 years. I was studying political science, was in academia as a teaching assistant, and I discovered the escape room trend in Europe in 2016. It was just sweeping over the globe. Fell in love with it, became a crazy addict, and thought to myself I could probably do it a little better. So fast forward several years of learning, fundraising, and a lot of Googling, and I ended up in Hawaii with Chambers.
How long have you been in Hawaii?
Since 2017, so about 3 years now.
Very awesome. And let's go ahead and launch into Chambers. Tell us a bit about the escape room before we start playing the video, just to give people an idea of what it is.
Yeah, so Chambers opened last year, and we are the only ones who offer virtual reality escape rooms and third-generation live escape rooms. Kind of the idea was to come in with the most high-tech, most immersive, most engaging games available using the most cutting-edge technology. With that included some high-end live games, as well as kind of the focus of the talk here, the only free roam room scale virtual reality escape rooms, which are basically multiplayer escape rooms where you have to interact, communicate, search for clues, solve puzzles, except the entire experience takes place in virtual reality.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and play that video real quick that you had sent over. That was pretty cool. So I actually had the pleasure of being in one of the rooms about a couple of weeks ago. It was like a space type of theme, really fun. How many themed rooms do you have?
So right now we have one live room and 3 virtual reality games with another one that we're just about to release. We have Space Station Tiberia, which is the Space Station one. There's Depths of Osiris, which is an underwater Temple of Atlantis style game. And we have Dragon Tower, which is one of our more popular medieval fantasy Game of Thrones type games.
I should have done that instead. So tell us the technology behind the virtual escape rooms. Because I see that there's like a VR headset and a backpack. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yep, so the VR system we use the HTC Vive virtual reality headsets. They're industry standard, pretty widespread for commercial use for virtual reality arcades. Some enthusiasts can buy them for their home as well. It's a 15 by 18 foot game space with sensors that track the movements. What sets our system apart are those backpacks. Those are the MSI VR1 virtual reality backpacks. They're essentially high performance gaming laptops that players are wearing on their backs. And those pretty pieces of equipment, what they enable is fully free room gameplay. So instead of other VR systems where some players might be tied down or tethered or seated or limited to a small separate game space, all of our players can play in the same room at the same time in a virtual world that maps completely onto the physical one. So when they're standing in the corner of the real room, they're standing in the corner of the virtual room. They see other players where they actually are in real life, to the point where they could reach out, give each other a high five, both in physical and virtual reality at the same time.
Very awesome. And so let's talk more about the technology behind the virtual reality. Where do you see this type of format taking us in the future? Like next 5 years, 10 years, all that stuff.
It's really a question of how far the imagination is going, because VR is developing very quickly. I remember when I was first looking into VR a couple years ago, there were a lot of solutions out there to try to mimic reality, but weren't really there. So, for example, people would have to move with a teleport button or with their hands, or maybe they had these little treadmills that people would walk on to kind of simulate actual movement, but none of it really emulated the actual feeling of being in reality. It all felt a bit fake. So the room scale version right now really does feel very real, but even more innovations are coming where you don't have to wear backpacks, where the whole thing is done on a headset, where the space is bigger, the players are bigger, the things that can happen, maybe incorporating 4D and augmented reality. I mean, it's just developing so fast. Every year, new systems, new capabilities, and so the possibilities for immersive entertainment and interaction are really just expounding year after year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. How do you think, well, let me see. Let me try to phrase this question a little bit differently. So as far as like virtual reality escape rooms go, is that like more outstanding than your escape room where people are actually like they have actual tangible props in? Like, how does a virtual escape room stand out, or how is it different beyond the whole tangible?
Yeah. So it is a bit of a jump, and it's kind of on the frontier of escape room experiences, because most escape rooms that people are familiar with are physical, tangible rooms. And even those, what people are familiar with, are what's known as first and second generation escape rooms that involve minimal technology, mainly lock and key puzzles. So already kind of pushing the frontier are third generation escape rooms, live ones, that use more technology, more props, more magnetic sensors, more cinematic show effects. So that already kind of pushes the envelope in terms of immersive experiences. And VR is kind of its own new category, where it skips the need for set design, skips the need for even cool physical wizardry, and just goes into the virtual world where anything is possible, where you can be up in space with zero gravity, you can be upside down, you can fight dragons. No amount of set design or mag sensors can really emulate that. So the VR escape rooms really kind of push the boundary of what is possible. It is a bit of a jump for a lot of people who are more familiar with physical escape rooms. Some of them aren't so thrilled with the idea of a video game. You know, gamers love it, but some people who wouldn't have the appeal, it takes a little bit of explaining to really make them realize that the experience isn't that far different. And I think the ability to have VR that really emulates natural movement, natural environment interaction, can really kind of bridge that gap.
Right. Are there any precautions that people have to take before they go into the escape rooms? I don't think so, but maybe you can educate us more on that.
Yeah, I mean, every escape room has their own safety briefing, not to use force, to mind the rules, not to push or pull too hard on anything to damage the props. In virtual reality, this, of course, is not so relevant because nothing is real. Here, the safety briefing is not to walk through the virtual walls or lean on tables and chairs that don't really exist. And I cannot tell you how many times people still do that anyway. It's that immersive, which is a good sign, but it's also something that people have to be mindful of, that it is virtual. And as real as it seems, you cannot sit on something that isn't there.
Yeah, no, I tried. Because it's so realistic, and I was reaching out for things, so that was pretty fun. So where do you see the virtual reality escape room business in Hawaii? Like, how do you see that taking off in the next couple of years?
So in Hawaii, right now, there's only two companies that offer VR escape rooms. There's ours and another one called Adventure VR, which someone else kind of developed the games himself. The escape room industry in general in Hawaii is very, very new. There aren't that many escape room companies, not many that offer anything beyond second generation. Whereas most mainland cities already have dozens of escape room companies to the point of saturation. So the higher end technology, higher end systems, that's kind of what happens when you see markets get to be more and more full. In Hawaii, where it's still pretty new. So kind of the hope to come in with VR, with third generation escape rooms, was to kind of jump ahead of the curve a little bit. So hopefully more companies will come in, because more businesses means more people are excited about this, more opportunities to play different games. But we really are kind of at the very early stages as far as escape rooms go in Hawaii.
You guys are, absolutely. On that note, because the concept is so new here in Hawaii, what are some challenges that you have faced as being one of the few escape rooms, virtual escape rooms out here in the state?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, one of the challenges is to have people who aren't so attracted to virtual reality kind of make that jump and realize that if you liked escape rooms, you'll definitely like this. There are a lot of technophobes out there, and just the thought of something in VR and with high-tech gear is a little off-putting. But I would say even more broadly, one of the challenges is just educating the population about escape rooms in general. Now, if we were located in Los Angeles or New York or Chicago, we would have dozens of other escape rooms to compete with, but we would have tens of thousands of Google searches for escape rooms. Whereas in Honolulu, it's not as widespreadly realized as a fun thing to do. So we really kind of have to do a lot of ongoing marketing just to get ourselves in front of people and let them know that, hey, this is something cool that is available to do. And I think the interesting thing is, even though we've been open for a year and escape rooms have been in Honolulu for over 4 years, I'd say about 4 out of 10 players who come play with us have never played an escape room before. It's their first time. So there's still a lot of room to go before people have the words escape rooms in its common vernacular as a cool weekend outing.
That's true. Like when I tried it a couple of weeks ago, that was my first time, and I was slightly scared as to going in and not knowing what to expect. So I really appreciate the presence of your company and that type of option for entertainment. How do people get to know about your business? Like where can like if someone was walking off the street, how can they learn more about your virtual escape room?
So because most of our bookings are done online, digital is kind of our main approach to reaching people. So obviously Google AdWords, Facebook is one of our strongest channels that we're really pushing with groups, with Instagram, just to kind of put ourselves in front with cool little promo videos, ads there. But we're really shooting in all directions with prints, with posters. We're on the radio right now. We had a couple interviews with Chris Stiles of 102.7. We're on 105.9. So we're really just trying to cast as broad a net as possible, have as many eyeballs see our site, as many ears hear our advertisements, and hopefully resonate with some people that are looking for something cool and new to do in Hawaii.
Yeah, it definitely is cool and definitely is new. And I almost didn't solve it. Fortunately, the person that I was with knew what they were doing. So good stuff. Is there anything that you would like to add that I haven't asked you about? About the room, about the business, about the technology that's involved in it?
Yeah, I guess the role of technology in general, I think, is very important for immersive entertainment, whether it's escape rooms or go-kart racing or laser tag. You know, tech is able to add a lot of wow factor for people that are used to Hollywood-level cinematics and attractions and theme parks. Tech can be a very powerful tool. It's one that has a little bit of a high barrier to entry to new owners or business owners or people who are thinking of creating attractions, just because there's a lot of tech involved. It's difficult to learn sometimes. It can be more expensive. It almost certainly is more expensive. But kind of our business approach and philosophy when starting Chambers is to really kind of go for the top of the top, to really put yourself in the perspective of the user. What would make someone's eyes widen, their jaws drop? Even though it might cost a lot starting up, it'll pay off in the long run when people just realize that this is something so cool, so innovative, so above the rest. And a lot of hours, a lot of time went into designing our games, not just the virtual reality games, but also the live action one, which even though it's a physical one, the amount of technology in there really almost gives it a theme park level feel to it. And I think that's what people appreciate. That's one of the things that people draw to us. And that's one of the reasons we've been getting kind of the reputation that we've gotten in the year that we've been open.
And you are currently located on Oahu. Do you have plans to open locations on the neighbor islands as well?
Absolutely, as fast as we can do it. We're already working on opening more games in our current location. We're thinking of potentially opening a branch on the west side of Oahu and other islands as they become available. It's just as fast as we can grow it. If I could clone myself, I would, but it's always hard as the first year start.
With technology, we'll get there. Where are you currently located?
We are at the edge of Kaka'ako. Yeah, so we are in Kaka'ako at 550 Hale'Kauvila Street. It's right on the border of Kaka'ako and downtown. So in town for anyone who is looking for us.
And if they wanted to check out your website, where would that be?
Yes, so we are chambershawaii.com. It's all of our games, all of our attractions there, or look us up on Facebook, Chambers Escape Games.
Awesome. Well, Ron, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Really appreciate it. And I hope people come out and play in your virtual escape room. And I hope to come back as well, because I want to solve another puzzle room. So thanks again.
We'll be happy to have you.
Thank you. So you can find this on ThinkTechHawaii.com. It is also on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ron.